What if everything that you've been taught about confidence and stage presence is actually making your performances worse? Today, I'm talking with Ruby Rose Fox. Ruby is the creator of a nervous system school for artists called Muscle Music. And this conversation represents the cutting edge of how to think about performance, presence, and what it actually means to move an audience. If you've ever felt nervous, stuck, or like you're trying to sound good instead of actually connecting, this might change everything for you. Now, prior to being exposed to Ruby's content, I thought that my school, High Range Magic, actually had the best-in-class solution, true solution for performance anxiety, not just coping with nerves like so many other approaches teach. But after getting to know Ruby's work, I realized that she's an order of magnitude beyond anything I've seen on the planet. And so I refer everybody who wants to focus on stage fright and performance to her now. Now, if your high range and endurance is stuck on the French horn, still do yourself a favor and visit highrangemagic.com. But believe me, if you perform in any sort of way, this podcast is going to hold a lot of keys for you to understanding how to really feel at home and say something in your music making. Enjoy this episode of The Holistic Horn. I'm Mars Gelfo, and this is Ruby Rose Fox. Welcome to the Holistic Horn podcast, Ruby.
Thank you, Mars. Thank you for having me.
I'm really, really excited. And what I notice immediately being in your presence, I was going to say this even before you said that you run a nervous system regulation school, was that the quality of my felt nervous system experience in connection with you is very notable and extraordinary given the amount of Zoom calls that I do.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
Help me understand why.
I have been, I think, interested in presence my whole life. You know, why aren't the adults around me present with me? When you have a childhood with parents who are not so there, it's something that becomes an absence. So, you know, I've spent my whole life thinking about this question. I have an acting degree, which of course, silence and presence is a part of your craft. Music, as a singer-songwriter and musician, silence is a part of our craft. And I also studied Zen meditation for many, many, many years. So this question of what is this presence thing that we're all wanting more of? And why do I feel safe with someone and not someone else? And this is kind of the work I've become obsessed with. So when you say that, it makes me feel happy because I feel like I'm doing my job.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with that as well. And you've gone into the next level of not just one-on-one, why does my nervous system feel safe with one person or another person, but how do I, as a performer, feel safe on stage?
Oh, yeah.
And truly authentic and congruent.
Yes. Yes.
How did that come to be? Tell us a little bit about what you do and how that came to be.
Sure. Well, I think if there was like a hero moment where like the journey began, it was in acting school. And my program was full of different kinds of people. And there were just a couple people in my acting studio that I was personally convinced would never have a career. They were just no good, not talented, whatever. And this very special teacher came in. He had just worked with the Maori tribe, and he was tall, beautiful Black man who was an incredible director, but he was a teacher, like a teacher. And he taught us a method that was different than anything I had experienced before. And we didn't have language for the nervous system yet. So there was no nervous system literacy, but he was using the nervous system with other language. And he used certain techniques, and these cohort members came to life, like Meryl Streep level acting. And I just remember I had this big notebook at the time, and I wrote in huge letters, "Everyone is talented." And that's really like the bing that went off in my brain of like, wait a second. We live in this paradigm of talent is maybe something we're born with, or presence is something we're born with. And either you have star quality or you don't. And that in that moment, I was so relieved because it meant that this is something we can build through practice and skill. And it is a technique in itself, and we're not born with it. So it was like so freeing. So from there on, I was just obsessed with what is the human instrument? Because at the time, it was before I was a singer-songwriter. So for me as an actor, my instrument was my body. So it started there and went 1,000 places.
What were some of those initial techniques and practices that this teacher brought? And would you like to share his name?
Oh, sure. His name is Tim Douglas. One of the tools he used, I've repurposed one of his tools that I now call the Truth Portal tool, which is in my little toolbox, which is basically that whenever an actor is about to start to perform, to superplay, to take on a character, the artist always has this tension of, I don't feel like Lady Macbeth. How could I possibly feel full of rage and anger when I, Ruby Rose Fox, feel fine? How do I bridge A to B? And there's often
Or
this...
nervous, right?
Or nervous, yeah. And how do I bridge the shame between where I am and where I need to be without having a crisis that then puts my nervous system in complete danger? So he gave us an assignment. He said, learn your monologues. Don't put anything on them. Learn them really, really, really well. And then he came in and he said, wherever you are right now, start from there. And it was hard for us at first because we were like, what do you mean start from here? And he just gave us permission to start the line or start the phrase from exactly where we were. And there was like a moment where someone was like, couldn't stop laughing and he had to do Hamlet. And he was like, I can't start from here. Like, I'm cracking up. I'm doing a speech about killing myself. And he was like, do you really think that no one has ever laughed while considering suicide? And it opened up this whole world of freedom to start where we were instead of shaming where we were. And without the nervous system language, that technique was really hard to access. So that's why I kept at it. It's easier to say, oh, you're a 6 on the nervous system ladder, or you're right between fight or flight and freeze. Okay, can you start from there? I just took it and took it way farther. But that was the origin story of that tool.
This sounds like something that I'm teaching and don't have great language for. Yeah, I'm gonna put on my original sound and play a little horn.
Oh, sure.
What I tell people all the time, there's a typical French horn pieces, the Mozart Horn Concerto K495, and it's supposed to be elegant and grand and Mozartian and good-humored and gentle and generous, typical Mozart. And a lot of people, when they're playing an audition or even just in the practice room, they're not feeling those things. They're feeling maybe self-critical, or they're feeling nervous, or maybe bored, or a little, straight-laced or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell them to play and start playing that music angry. So if the exposition of the concerto, and I'll do it right now. So I feel a little nervous, right? Starting this thing, playing for you, first time. Oh my God, it's recording, it's live. So I'm going to play it nervous. Which is a gross, nervous version of it. So the actual music will be like. Obviously, different.
Yes.
But then there's ways to play it just a little bit nervous and come out of the nervousness quickly. So if I want to play it nervous but kind of come out of it, it's a little bit just more. And so what I'm doing is kind of like using the nervousness as a stepping off point for saying something that's congruent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How is that similar or different to what you're teaching?
Sure. If I was working with you and you were nervous and the sound was sort of like going out and kind of curling back into you, which is a little bit what I heard.
Yeah.
Basically anywhere below, from freeze and below, whether you're a human being or you're a human being attached to an instrument, your energy is going to go out and then fall and collapse back onto itself. So that's why when someone is in freeze, you feel so alone with them. Like they're talking to themselves, really. Like, and sometimes their voice doesn't even hit your body. You're like, "Hey, Doug, how you doing?" And they're like, okay. It's going, it's like it goes out and then it falls back in. Present energy is like kind of perfect animal energy. Like it's not too much or too little. It's like nature kind of like a shark never moves its tail more than it needs to. So like if I'm present with you, I know exactly how much to send out to hit your body.
Yeah.
And then there's pushed energy, which can happen in fight or flight or excited, safe and social. So
Yeah.
I use colors. So I call this, I would say fight or flight would be bright red, and regulated energy, sympathetic dominant, would be neon green. So that'd be like the Lego movie. Like everything's sort of like pushed and excited and grand and fun and everything is awesome. So basically, I would try to get you to do what I would do with a singer-songwriter or even an actor, to say, can you push the energy not to me, but through me?
Like even if I'm a little nervous, can I push that nervous energy?
Yes. And the nice thing, the difference between the human instrument and an instrument made of metal, is that the nice thing is that you can't really tell the difference.
Right.
Because there's not cues of danger or safety in there may be in your face. But there's a lot you can do that will just translate. When you're nervous, you have extra body budget. Your brain just gave your body tons of glucose.
Yeah.
Can we just unchain that and say it's welcome in my body? And then can you push it through me? And then one more thing, what do you want to tell me? What is something fun and exciting you could tell me with your sound?
Ooh, okay.
Like, what do you think Mozart's trying to say? Like, have a great day. Like, what is he saying?
Okay. Yum.
Cool.
That felt really nice.
Let's say I don't know anything about Mozart really, except the Requiem. That's the only thing I know. Let's say I was a master Mozart teacher like you, and I knew exactly the right flavor or relationship we wanted. And let's say I just wanted a little bit more scoundy energy, like just more wiggle or something.
Okay.
I would say, instead of asking you to do anything with the sound and objectify the sound, I would say, could we shift our relationship a little bit? Now you're a fun parent and I'm a really bummed out kid, and you're just like trying to excite me. Like, I would try to create a relationship that would help the sound make sense in relational embodiment, instead of trying to take the sound. And
I need a minute to recover my mind that just got blown to pieces. Hang on.
Does that make sense though?
I don't know, little Ruby. Do you want Daddy Mars to play?
Yeah, so like grumpy kid.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that's the right relationship for the song. I'm saying that actually the relationship that we find is a creative process in itself, and we don't have to know. We can say, you know what, that was cool, that was good, that was exciting. But what if we added this part? What if we added a little imaginary circumstance that actually made it pop even more?
And what's amazing to me is that it's relational, what you're getting, rather than imaginal, in the sense of I'm imagining a scene and trying to transmit a scene. I'm imagining a relationship and occupying that relationship with a function.
And even better, I'm not saying like, hey, on the fourth note, can you really make that pop out? And then on the sixth note, can you bring that down? Because that engages a part of your mind that makes every student just want to throw themselves off a bridge, because it's hard to be fun and playful and then think about what I call your anchor role, which is just the part of you that's learning your damn instrument.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think if you did, like in the sense that Mozart, for example, does sort of call for a particular emphasis on the syllable, if you will,
Yeah.
that you could say, well, I noticed that you'd actually be more effective at cheering me up if this beat was stronger.
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
So what was the one that you proposed? That I'm a parent trying to cheer up a grumpy child?
Yeah. Like, I just like don't want to get into the car.
Okay, let me try it.
I'll look grumpy.
Yeah, please. Oh, that was more like get in the car.
Yeah. and
fascinating.
but then it's like, and then as your own director, you go, did
Yeah.
that work? Did that really serve the song?
Right.
I was working with one of my clients yesterday, and she was doing Blackbird. And she wanted to do a really solemn version of it. And there was she was leaving a lot of space between the phrases. And I gave her a way to Superplay, so we weren't using her trauma, so she could feel safe doing the song. And so she loved it. She was like, I love doing this. But then I know, as her like ersatz director, I was like, you know what? I'm noticing there's a lot of space between the phrases. I think that's the interpretation that you wanted, really intended. You wanted like a somber version of it. I'm wondering if the person is actually in a church or in a sacred space or leading a group of people. It feels there's like a tone. Could you be a priestess in front of a group of people that you're leading and they're sad and you're trying to get them to come back to life? So I also, have to respect the kind of artist that comes to me and what they want, because she didn't want to do the McCartney version. She wanted to do her version. And so I'm like, what scene can we use to make this make sense?
You've used the word superplay a couple times, and I think that's
Yeah.
what you're getting at. Can you dive into that topic a little bit more?
Sure. So I use it. It's like probably obnoxious to be using your own language that you made up.
Nah.
But basically, I have my own theory of the nervous system ladder, and I've added a fourth state that I call superplay, which is what happens to the human nervous system when we start to play pretend. And basically, what I'm saying is that all of the nervous system states that we feel as people are repurposed almost like a fractal into a new spectrum, piano spectrum, in which we're then playing our nervous system, but without risk. And we do this. We've started super playing as kids. I mean, it's so natural. Kids are doing it all the time.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, like, if we were friends when we were 7, I'd be like, okay, I'm the teacher and you're my student and we have to play like this. And then we get to experience power dynamic, what it would be like to be in school before we're in school. So I'm basically claiming that this isn't just something that's the arts. It's actually a part of our human distinctly Homo sapien nervous system.
Well, play as well. It's how we best learn, in my opinion.
Yes.
And what you're talking about also gives you access to, for example, to safely play with anger or sadness as a child, as an adult, and not have it be so high stakes.
Yep.
In the same way, play fighting.
Because the brain doesn't clock it as self, so there's no residue and there's no PTSD from your superplay. But I'm saying that this just evolved with Homo sapiens. Like, my dog can't play Betty Davis. She has a safe and social nervous system. But her play, if you notice a dog's play, her play is to tug and rip. So with me, she wants to practice hunting because that's her number one way of survival. Humans' the way we survive it is not hunting anymore. It's each other. It's social relations.
Yeah.
So we have to practice it because it's not safe.
Right. And the best way to practice is genuinely through play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the superplay theory.
Well, how do you tie this into helping people reclaim or overcome some of the trauma, the performance CPTSD that's
Mhm.
so common, especially amongst Western educated performers and artists?
Sure. Well, it would totally depend on the specific person because everyone has very, like, for example, the client I was just referring to had a very traumatic childhood and she was using her life as material. So the specific problem in bringing Superplay into that was we use Superplay to pad your nervous system from feeling like it's happening to you right now. So instead of using herself as, like, I'm gonna imagine I'm singing to the person who hurt me or the person who had traumatized me, I'm gonna come up with a totally fictional scenario that allows the song to have its due and to be fully expressed, but without triggering the nervous system into distress, despair, or even like way dopamine overload because you're so excited by it. Because we don't have to relive our trauma over and over and over and over. It's a gift to be able to say, this story happened to me. Now I can show you what it's like, but I don't have to relive it over and over and over.
Could you give maybe another client example? How you've used Superplay to unwind, say, sabotaging or limiting habits or ways of being as artists?
Here's another example. Singers and musicians that are classically trained or just obsessed with technique and how they sound.
Mhm. I
So
know
I
what you're talking
say
about.
So I say, like, in our what I call I talk about Superplay as this, like, whole group of faders, like, on a mixing board that go up and down. So one of the faders is our anchor role, which is the identity of singer or identity of horn player. And in that identity, there's a lot of snags because that identity is there to make sure sound sounds good. That's what your voice teacher is for, or your oboe teacher is for. They're going, this is good sound, this is sound we could change. And we have to do that work, or we won't learn how to make tone that sounds luscious and beautiful. But at some point, we have to let that work go and start Superplay. And classical musicians tend to get really tight in this area. They don't ever let themselves play, like truly play. Some of my work to them is saying, you're this channel, you're the tuning fork. We have to surrender our identity in order, basically, because we're playing and you can't do both at the same time. I can't play Ruby Rose Fox and Lady Macbeth at the same time. I have to pick one. And when we are playing ourselves going, I hope you like me. I hope you think this song is so good. We block our audience from having the privilege of getting to passively Superplay. Because
Yeah.
that's the whole point. I actively Superplay, you passively Superplay.
They'll entrain with whatever you're bringing to the stage.
Right. And they say, "Oh my," like, and my client recently said, like, "Well, how do I know that I'm doing it? Like, how do I know I did a good job at Superplay?" And I said,
Yeah.
if your audience makes it about them. Oh my God, I thought about my great grandfather when you were singing, and I had all these memories and I felt things. If they make it about you, you failed. You made it about you.
Ooh, that's nice.
Like, if they're like, "Oh, you have such a nice voice,"
Uh-huh.
then you probably made it about you. Like, I always use Jolene as the example of, like, if I'm singing Jolene to make it sound good, then I'm like a country singer being like, "Do you like me? Am I beautiful? Do you like my voice? Do I sound beautiful?" And that's enough to get attention. But what about the fact that this woman just walked in a bank and saw the woman with red hair that's fucking her husband? We'll have to take that out. And or not. And she could be really mean to her, but she decides not to. And she says, "You're so beautiful. You're so amazing. You're so young, but please don't ruin my relationship. I love him. I know this is messed up, but please don't take my man." When you sing from there, you crush it. You crush the house.
So different.
Totally different experience. And the audience is so busy with their own emotions that they're not thinking whether you're good or not. 'Cause frankly, they don't care. You're giving them a 3D experience of what this relationship feels like, and that's what all of my work is about. And I think in the somatic world, we're all saying like, "Oh, I wanna be embodied, I wanna be embodied." And yes, when we play, we're embodied, or if you're making it about you, you may be in your body. But are we embodying the song? Because a song is its own body, and we surrender our body to that body to bring it to life.
And I'm thinking, for orchestral players who play a small role of
Role.
a song,
Yeah,
it's a role in a greater creation. What's your role in that moment? How do
right.
you get people to let go of that identity that for decades maybe they've been holding on to? Me as I'm a good horn player and I need to make a good sound and be accurate, and that comes to the forefront and makes them nervous and makes it
Mhm.
about them. What does the process look like? I know you have a whole school for this, but maybe it's
Yeah. Well, I mean, before I go deep, I usually try to give them some basic education and literacy so we can even talk together about, states and, like, what we're even talking about here. And then when we have some comfortability together, that's when I start to really go in and say, like, your nervous system is the tuning fork for this audience. And if you make your audience your parent and you're the child, this is gonna feel terrible. You will have stage fright. You will feel like your skin is crawling because you're looking for love in strangers.
yeah.
Strangers cannot ever see you or love you, ever. The only people who can truly love you are people who know you, not as characters, as you, and you should only open yourself up in that way to people who are trustworthy, who have proven over a period of time that they deserve your that kind of vulnerability. You're a nervous system leader. You're a super player. This basically, like, this doesn't have to feel this bad. And what you're looking for is something that's not available in performance anyway, and that's why you're having such a hard time. And then it can be hard because we have to do some work around you're the love. You're the one you've been waiting for. You're the powerhouse. You're the tuning fork.
What
But
does
it's
that work look like? Sorry to interrupt.
I mean, sometimes people really need to tell their story and, like, think about why they're doing that and why they assumed that maybe they could get that need met to be loved through strangers. What I do is not therapy. I do think that, you know, having a client have their kind of nervous system timeline mapped out and really understanding how do we get here? And then from there, there's often a grieving process of like, they realize that I'm right, but they're also then realizing how much time they've lost of empowerment. And that can take a little time to get over being like, well, damn, if this is the way
Mm.
it is, then I've lost a lot of years of that could have been
Yep.
happy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite tools to use is just a little mantra where I just have them put their hands on their chest and I just say, I'm creating space in my body for it to feel safe, to feel embarrassed.
Mm.
So another part of being a leader is that the entire nervous system has to slowly and methodically over time in little bits need to be unshamed.
Yeah, that's something that I do a lot of active work on with my cohorts in my program, and sharing this because I want to get your take. What we generally do is people come on and week after week after week, they show up and play in front of the group.
Mhm.
I find that having a group to play in front of is necessary to stimulate kind of the arising of the old patterns and then make space for the new patterns.
Yep.
And I'll have them go super slow. Like, okay, just notice what it's like that you are about to play the horn. We're not even going to play. Just notice what it's like that you're about to play until they can come into presence and regulation
Mhm.
with that and kind of baby step our way towards, okay, maybe you're playing just gibberish on the horn for everybody, but can you feel safe doing that? And
Mhm.
then can we feel safe turning gibberish into chosen notes? And can we do chosen notes into orchestral excerpts or recital material? How would you approach it? Or how do you approach it?
Well, first of all, I would say, like, I would tell them that, like, look at all these faces
Yep.
out there.
Mhm.
Just want to remind you, if you're standing in front of a group of people, you have to tell your body that I'm the tuning fork, I'm the leader. I am tuning their nervous systems, not hypervigilantly looking for how they look. The other really important thing to know is that when you look at people's faces, we only interpret people's faces correctly 30% of the time, which means we can't read faces as humans. So
Yeah.
if you're looking at a group of faces who are listening to classical music, their faces will probably be flat because they're listening. Or if you just have a very generous face, great. But it doesn't actually mean basically we're wired to detect safety in faces even though we can't read them well, which is a tragedy, really. So I would just say, like, I would also give them a place to look, a safe spot to look if they don't want to look at faces. And then when they're ready to kind of look at the group. The other thing I would say is that in polyvagal theory, in the nervous system world, you're going to hear this word called co-regulation, meaning my nervous system is co-regulating with yours. Unfortunately, that's not what leaders do. We are aware of other people's nervous systems, but we have to be more aware of our own because we are the tuning fork, which means we co-regulate less. If if a parent co-regulates with a screaming child, the parent's going to be screaming and upset. We co-regulate because there's two somewhat safe adult systems that can find safety together, and that's beautiful. We all know this from, like, our friends, and you sit down at a coffee shop, I'm like, "What happened to you?" And you're like, "It's been awful." And you're like, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "Awful week too." And then we just do that dance and we feel better afterwards. But if you're a nervous system leader, you actually have to hold more of the line because you're parenting a lot of your own biology. As it starts to dysregulate, you start to parent more and more of it. So the other thing is to be careful of hypervigilantly tuning with an audience that you're supposed to be tuning.
People going on stage and um, allowing themselves to be impacted and shift their own nervous systems based on the audience or their misperception of the audience,
Yes.
which is huge when it's audition committees and you can't even see them. You just have a blank screen and you assume that there's a judgmental committee on the other side. If
Yes.
you let that lead your nervous system, you are sunk.
Right.
But so what you're saying is to be the nervous system leader in a room when you're performing. But how is it? I can very easily imagine someone going on stage and they're conscious, okay, I want to be the nervous system leader. And at the same time, their nervous system's amping up and they could feel the fight or flight and they're going, oh no,
Yeah.
this is even worse now that they know they're supposed to be leading.
Yeah. I have two protocols for that. One is that before we step on stage or before we are in front of our horn, backstage, we are doing metabolic protocols to deal with the hormones as best as possible. Because if your brain has decided that you need an unbelievably large amount of cortisol and adrenaline, that's nothing you can reframe away. That's nothing you
Right.
can think away. It's going to affect your mobility. So we want to be doing metabolic protocols, physical protocols, and mental protocols to get you in the best shape possible when you hit the stage.
Can you share some of those protocols?
Yeah. So, like, if someone was in freeze, there's a whole slew of them, like shaking. There's actually breath work you can do to prevent freeze beforehand, or even sometimes when you're in freeze, a little co-regulation can get you up. But basically, it's oxygen deprivation. So we need to get a little bit of oxygen back to your brain. From there, we go into fight or flight. Then you'd have to use your fight or flight toolkit. One of my favorites is planking. Um, Planking, like on the floor, like a fitness plank.
Wait, you're saying we can work on stage fright and our abs at the same time?
Yes. But, like, once you hit the stage, that's when we unchain because there's no more protocols from there except the performance protocols. Meaning
I
that,
haven't.
like, I can't plank if I'm about to if I'm on in symphony hall, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
from there, that's when we unshame and go, "Okay, I do have a lot of energy. I do have," like, basically you're welcoming the state in and saying, "Welcome home, buddy. I didn't want you to come, but thank you for coming, for trying to help me, give me enough energy to survive this. And let's say you were trying to do neon green, pushed energy that was exciting. I would say, thank you for giving me the perfect energy for this song, because I actually need more cortisol. I need more energy. Thank you. I'm going to use you. Thank you for being here.
Do something soft and delicate.
If I was okay, so if I required a low body budget, I would probably then do a tool called the Mississippi Stare Down, which is like
Mississippi Stare Down.
Mississippi Stare Down, which is you basically pick 3 points on the wall and you count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, while you're also doing something called the physiological sigh. So there's just a lot of tools. You do these together, and basically what you do is you're challenging the urgency of the time. You're saying, I'm in no rush. And then you take that time to sort of say, got it. I'm in fight or flight. But also I'm in command. And in that moment, you can kind of ask, non-verbally ask the audience, like, hey, do you want to follow me? And then my thing would be, take your time until you're ready. Because you know what the best thing is for an audience is when an artist is still and present and takes too long, they start to shush themselves and they start to go, what's happening?
Yeah, it's breathtaking.
Yeah. But it's letting yourself do that instead of going into the neural predictions of shame and going down that ladder.
Well, sorry for the interruption, but if you are a horn player and you struggle with high range, confidence, accuracy, consistency, or endurance, this is of interest to you. I am still running my program High Range Magic that has offered profound transformation to folks that want to unlock the high range and all of its benefits. There is a masterclass linked below that you can watch for free, 100% free, 3 Secrets of High Playing. After you watch the masterclass, you'll have an option to book a no-cost one-on-one consult with me if you're interested in finding out more about the program. That's all for now. Back to the episode. I have a client that in his report, he's backstage and everything is completely fine. And he's done a lot of work already, nervous system work and hypnosis and all kinds of stuff. And he's backstage before an audition, everything's totally fine. When he goes on stage and starts to play is when things ramp like massively up. I'm curious about that because you're talking about doing the backstage metabolic work, but in this case, I'm not sure that that's applicable.
Yeah. I mean, it would have to, everyone is different, and it would really depend on what was triggering that fight or flight.
Right.
And if we could figure that out, then there's a lot of calming we can do. Also, the expectation of state can massively mess you up. So if you are saying like, well, I've worked with my therapist and I've done all of this nervous system work and I should be calm because I did all these things. It's like, that's where the dopamine system comes in. And that's why that's a big part of my education as well, is that if you predict your state incorrectly, you're going to get a dopamine reward prediction error, which is stress to the nervous system.
Can you explain that a little bit more? I didn't fully understand.
So basically, your brain is a big hallucination of the world. It's a big model of the world. Everything we're experiencing is basically a model of the world. It's not the actual world. It's not the actual quantum flux. It's a creation of it. It's a creation of it so that we can survive. So if you're getting stimulus, that might just be like, oh my God, my heart's racing, or I'm sweaty. And then the brain goes, you have fight or flight. If you have a prediction that I will be calm this time, fight or flight is a prediction error. That creates free energy in the brain. Free energy is a big question mark, which makes the brain go, is this a threat? What will help you is if you predict correctly. So if you are a freezer, predict freeze. If you are a fight or flighter, predict fight or flight.
So you're going, okay, great. Everything's according to plan. This is exactly how I thought it was going to be. I'm going to get fight or flight. Yeah, that makes here we are.
Because the
Yeah,
problem with that is like, he's probably not just getting fight or flight. He's probably getting fight or flight plus a dopamine low. Fight or flight's hard enough. Dopamine low on top of that, you have basically, I call a dopamine low feels like an animal that just lost a fight. So you're going to feel like a loser. You're going to feel very bad.
Mhm.
Dopamine drops feel terrible, worse than fight or flight. The two of them combined, I think, are the worst case scenario for any performing artist. It's almost too much. It's too much neural pressure. That's why I'm a big advocate for like, you have to predict. I know you don't want to. You want to say, I'm going to be calm. But if you do that, you're setting yourself up for a dopamine dip. Because here's what happens. Let's say your student predicts fight or flight, and then they end up being calm. They still get a reward prediction error, but it's in the right direction. They'll get dopamine. They'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
surprise,
Right,
I feel
right,
great. Then
right.
this happens to my clients all the time. They're like, I finally predicted right, and now I feel even better than I normally do. And that's because that's how dopamine works.
That's utterly fascinating.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a huge nervous system, I don't know, devotee, you could say, of like
Yeah.
polyvagal theory. I have not explored the hormonal system as much with dopamine and adrenaline, endorphins,
Yeah.
and et cetera.
It's the layer of like that part of it's really important because it's hard to have it's hard to know what to do if you don't understand the hormones, but underneath that layer of it. Um, so yeah, I'm a big advocate of teaching sort of the basics of the neurotransmitters or the hormones involved because polyvagal theory doesn't have superplay on it. So they're not thinking about pretend states. They're not
Right.
thinking about what happens when you put pretend through your nervous system. And it's super important to think about it when you have stage fright because your therapist will say, well, do the box breath. But cortisol's a hormone. So if you tell a woman, hey, lady, when you're at that time of the month, why don't you reframe your thoughts and breathe? She's going to be like, you're an idiot. These are hormones. And that's what we should say to our therapists who give us breath work. Not you're an idiot, but be nicer than that. But it is hormones, and we can't think hormones away. The only way to get hormones out, the cortisol out of the body, is muscle contraction. That's why we plank.
I heard a great quote about this from Dave Cooper, who currently plays in the LA Philharmonic, but has won almost every principal French horn audition in the universe. Apparently,
Whoa,
a
I
crazy,
love that.
very smart guy. He said, "You can't think your way into right action. You have to act your way into right thinking."
Yes, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Yep. Sometimes thinking or a belief system is kind of toppling the nervous system, but a lot of the time, you're going to feel so much better by planking first and then shaking and then do some mental reframing. But like if you're seeping in your own stress hormones like a tea bag, it's going to be very hard to reframe.
I'm having the thought that while your mind can tank your nervous system, it's very hard for your mind to actively recover your nervous system alone. Like physical action is somewhat
Yeah,
hard.
it's way too late at that point. Because when I was talking about like a belief, you have a belief, you're getting different information from the world, and the brain's going, is this a free energy? Is this a threat? The brain's number one job is to reduce surprise, reduce free energy. So what does it do? It offloads that by giving the body dysregulation. It's just basically going, I'm going to give you some crude fuel and hope you can figure this out because we don't know what the predator is. We're a brain in a black box. We have no idea what's going on. So we're
Yeah.
going to give you fuel, take care of it. So by the time we got the fuel, it's too late to do belief system work.
Yeah. Could we go back to Superplay and playing pretend? So talk again about how a performer, maybe a client story would be great if you have
Sure.
one, of how someone comes into being an expert super player so they can go on stage and have that pretend
Yeah.
relationship.
Well, first of all, I would say we never do super play work on like, we never do our homework on stage when it comes to super play. We always wanna take the time to look at the song at play and analyze it, and say, what is this song? What does it need? What is it trying to who's if I dropped this song into a music video, who is singing to who? And I don't care if it's, Dolly Parton or Tennessee Williams or a concerto. What is the given circumstances of this song? And what nervous system state is my character in, and what nervous system state is the person I'm singing to? So am I regulating them? Am I pissed at them? Is this RESPECT? You better listen to me. Like, what is it? And from there, we can kind of craft and play with the energies, with how pushed, how pulled, how centered the performance is. I take the nervous system and then I make it a keyboard or like a color palette, and then I say each part of the nervous system is color. Let's pick 3 colors that we can use for this piece, just like a great chef. Like a great chef is gonna use like lemon thyme, peppercorn, and something else, but they're not gonna use every single state. So we pick sort of 3 and then we play with them, and from there, then we go, "How did that work? How'd that feel? How did that work?" And an artist may be like, "I like that," but then it may not serve the song perfectly. Like, I may be working on a demo and then using some certain nervous energies, and I listen back and I go, "You know what? I liked these choices, but it's not really serving the song. I actually need to add a little." Let's say, I call black and blue, which is the very bottom of the letter, like a floaty, freezy, Billie Eilish-y, let's say, kind of sound. I think that's actually what this character needs. So that creative process happens before we hit the stage for very obvious reasons, because it's an art form in itself. It's the embodiment of the song.
And then they're practicing delivering that in the privacy of their home, maybe
Yeah.
imagining performing it and leading.
Yeah. Oh, always, always. And I would say, like, there is a period of time where especially for classical artists, where you just have to learn the notes. Like, there is a period of time where it's boring and you just have to learn that, like, memorize it. Once that happens, then give yourself permission to start super playing. Because actually, some of the weird technique problems you may be having sometimes totally leave you in super play, because it starts to all make sense. It's like, oh, I really have to push because the person I'm singing to doesn't understand. And that little growl comes out more organically than trying to make it happen. Or a riff that would sound like kind of clunky makes sense when there's real emotion coming through it that's being sent to a person for a reason.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. The way I've articulated that, just to give a different languaging, is that when the entire being is congruent with the music, that the micro motors are able to be more like aligned and effective because everything's working
Yes.
together with the
Yes.
spirit of the music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another way that I, like, have language for this is that, like, um, there's a biosphere, right? Like, we're part of the biosphere, biology. But there's also a noosphere, which includes language and math and, structures of basically, like, all a song is a kind of DNA of musical information that includes phonemes and, uh dynamics, and it's a floating object that it's its own entity, but it can't come to life without a human nervous system. We want songs to serve us, but we're here to serve songs. And when we do that, it's so much more fun.
Have you chatted with Victor Wooten?
No.
Yeah.
Does
And
he
he
say
says
something
that
like that?
absolutely, and
Oh,
talking
cool.
about serving the spirit of music is
Oh,
how he
cool.
would say it,
Yeah.
and that she
I
needs us.
I took that actually from a book called, oh, Sex, Ecology, and Spirituality by Ken Wilber, which is like a tome of, yeah. So he talks about those things. And when I finally kind of realized that like a song is a meme, a song is like a and that's why we can copyright them, because they're duplicatable, just like DNA. And we have to bring them to life with our body. They get our nervous system for the night.
Mm. Yeah, it's such a profound honor when you think of it that way.
Yeah, totally. But I think, and I know this isn't your world specifically, but if in case it ever does intersect, like a lot of singer-songwriters struggle because they're looking to tell their story through a meme. And even if they wrote it like 6 months ago, that's not you anymore. It's you 6 months ago.
Is the mistake that they're trying to be finally understood,
Yes.
loved, catharsis
Yes.
through their music?
Yes.
It's just a kind of a fool's errand.
Yes, it's a fool's errand because no one will ever be able to see your trauma, because if you ever have the honor of impacting someone with your traumatic story, it becomes their story. They're filtering it through their brain, their nervous system, their great-grandparents, their lineage, not yours. So in a really beautiful way, we're always protected. And I think at first artists may feel lonely in that. But the beautiful thing is that you can share that with other people, just not through, like, do tell your story
To
directly.
give. To give, not to
Yeah.
get. Yeah.
Tell a real person your real story. You don't have to play Dolly Parton songs to get that through. Tell your story directly to another person who loves you and can hear you.
Pretty groundbreaking. I mean, I've never encountered this meme, to use your words, this thought. Not it's not a thought form. It's an entire thinking structure or way of perceiving. I'm really, really impressed. Can you talk a little bit about sort of a before and after of clients that you've worked with, or people that have gone through your program, your school?
There's two big kinds. There's avoidance and then there's anxious artists. The avoidance, often, but with both of them, I have to teach them nervous system literacy. I have to teach them how it all works. I give them the ground floor. Both of them need the ground floor education. With anxious folks, I have to help them to realize it's safe to slow down, or it's safe to do the same amount of work with less body budget, because they're driving themselves into a wall that will end in burnout. And not just like, oh, I have burnout and I'm out for a couple of months. Burnout that takes you out for years. So they're about to hit a brick wall. So I'm trying to slow that car crash down and teach them to use their metabolic budget more wisely, peak performance protocols, pre-care, aftercare, thinking about themselves as an athlete and giving them permission to take care of themselves on a level that was not taught to them at school.
Yeah.
And in avoidance, it's about getting them to dare to dysregulate, getting them to dare to do hard things that set them free, and show them through doing that it's safe to do those things, while also concurrently teaching them that their nervous system is, many things that they're afraid of are just their own body. And that can help a lot too. So those are the big kind of types that come into my program. And the outcomes have been great in terms of moving forward and either starting to make art or starting to, touring artists that like have been abusing their body for way too long and they finally uh, rest. Or, one singer-songwriter, her career started taking off, but she also let herself have a baby, um, because she realized that her art life wasn't everything and that she actually wanted to make her life a masterpiece as well. So yeah, there's a lot of outcomes that are good. I would say that this work, though, is not meant for anyone who doesn't have enough survival needs. So I would say this would be like really unsafe work for like a homeless population, or even someone who just barely has enough to pay their bills or rent. This could be a little You need a little more padding than that to kind of start thinking about metacognition.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then also too young. I really like people to be around 22 to 25 before they start, because we're not supposed to see our nervous system as object until we grow old enough. It's just natural. It's just a part of maturating. So asking someone too young to think of their nervous system as an object instead of a subject can be really overwhelming. And they're just not ready for it. It's like trying to rip off a scab that is not ready to come off.
Yeah, I have the same in my program.
Cool.
Like, the youngest I let in is around 21, 22.
Yeah.
Those reasons, it's just sort of an intuitive feeling for me. So where we're at so far, we've talked about the importance of both nervous system and hormonal education or literacy to
Hmm.
be able to understand what's happening, what are the different states, what do I do about these states, how do I take care of myself before a performance, after performance, during a performance. You've hinted at a tool set that I
Oh,
imagine
yeah, yeah,
people are
yeah.
going to have to go and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
join your course
Yeah.
or something to get access to, which is fair. We've talked about Superplay as a new nervous system state where we're modeling and playing with all of the contained nervous system states within as
Yeah.
a way to learn, train, lead,
Hmm.
and create really cool experiences. We've talked about the sort of patterns or archetypes of the avoidant, the anxious, what they each need as they come to reconcile and come into wholeness
Yeah.
with their performing careers. Is there anything else that you feel you want to share to complete the puzzle?
Maybe I'll just add one bigger picture for people who are like maybe feeling lost or like what are they talking about? And you asked me earlier, like, what am I really into right now? And a lot of my work started with the autonomic nervous system, which is like, you'll see on TikTok and everything, freeze, fight or flight, safe and social, that we have states. And of course I added my own state to the mix. But what I'm working on right now with my level 2 program is we're really going deep into the central nervous system, meaning like the brain and the spinal cord, and like, what is that? What is, because it's just because it's the brain, the spinal cord doesn't mean it's not the nervous system. So like, what is that piece of it? And I brought in Carl Friston's work. He's like the most incredible theoretical physicist on the planet. He also created like the first neuroimaging, and he's just a super humble guy. And my dream is to meet him and interview him. Um, and he has something called the free energy principle. And within that, there's something that he calls the Markov blanket, which is like basically the theoretical math to explain the difference between a living object and its environment. And so when an artist is thinking about their Markov blanket, it's really our BMWs, our mental world, our physical world, like what's inside our body, and then also like what we're focusing on outside of us. And so when I talk about tools, like the biggest thing in this work is that we're getting offers all the time from our brain. Thoughts are offers, feelings are offers, what we're focusing on is an offer, and we will never get ahead of those. We'll never be able to fix them because they're brain predictions. They come faster than a speeding bullet. All we can do is go, I just got a thought that's telling me I'm a terrible artist and I should go hide in a corner. What is the best tool to use to work with this? Or oh my God, I have so much body budget. I am full of adrenaline and cortisol. My heart is pounding. That's an offer
Mm.
into the blanket that's protecting you from your outer environment. What's the best tool for this? So my work is about saying, like, I love the fact that everyone has all these tools. Like, maybe you went to yoga, or maybe you did Tai Chi, or maybe you did tons of cognitive behavioral theory. Um, but there are better tools for states. So my whole thing is, I want, from a peak performance perspective, which is what I do, because it's not therapy. It's like, "No, I want you to use the most precise tool for the problem that we're solving for as performers, because we don't have 10 years to sit in a therapy chair. We have 5 minutes to get on stage. What if you're in freeze? Okay, what's our protocol?" And so that's why I don't just, like, give all my tools away, or people would hurt themselves because they need an understanding of how they all work to use them well. But my point is that if you're using a tool that works for fight or flight in freeze, it's not gonna work. If you use a tool to reframe a thought and you're shaking, that's not gonna work. So, I think, yeah, I guess I just wanna say precision matters in this area of peak performance.
Absolutely, yeah. Have you worked with auditioning classical musicians by any chance?
Auditioning classical, like, people who
Yeah.
are actively
Yes, people
auditioning?
who are taking auditions,
Um,
yeah.
some. More actually, honestly, I think more I've gotten a lot more musical theater folks that are auditioning than classical.
I bet it's very,
Um,
very similar.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there something specific that you were thinking about?
Just thinking that your work would change the face of classical
Oh,
music if it got out there,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
was curious if you'd gotten to
yeah,
have any initial impressions of how it
yeah,
lands or people. I would really like to take this to the next level with you and do some kind of, offering or exploratory cohort or something. We'll explore that
sure,
off podcast, but yeah, you were sharing about having the exact right tool for the job.
yeah.
And to that end, can you just describe a little bit about how it works to enroll in muscle music? Are you doing
Oh,
cohorts? How
sure.
long is
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
How
yeah.
people find this out?
It's a little bit complicated because I work with people with trauma, so it has to have a ton of flexibility. So there's about 4 or 5 cohorts a year as we've been doing now, which are 6 weeks long. But if you sign up for level 1, which is just my base, like, you learn brain science, the states, dopamine, Superplay, and then, I have a little eat for your nervous system about how what you eat can mess you up or not on stage. Um, and so they start with a 6-week cohort that's like their cohort, but then they can come back to group Zooms in all the other cohorts for the whole year because avoidant people tend to run away. So I have to go, "Are you ready to come back?" Um, and and also I'm pretty dyslexic and have had a lot of educational trauma. So I also want them to come into this with real curiosity of like, you're not just doing this to impress me as a teacher and disembodying yourself in that way. I want you to really focus on what you're curious. So like on. So if something strikes you and then you have to watch 10 YouTube videos, go do that. Like go on a journey, like for real with this. So it's a year of container. And then I do have a certification, but it's not required. That's really for people who like want to teach it and just want to make sure that they've crossed all their T's. So there's one-on-one coaching. There's a ton of group coaching. And then all of the materials asynchronous, so you can kind of do it on your own. And then you have a little toolbox that you have on your phone with 52 tools in level 1, and then you also get a little necklace with a QR code that you can share with your band or your collaborators that have the toolbox on them as well. So, and you can take it backstage just in case. Um, so
That's so cool.
it's supposed to be, for musicians, for people who are like, shit, I'm having this problem. Let me look for a tool that might help me right now. And then
Yeah.
access it right away because when we freeze, frankly, we forget our name and who we are and where we are. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Beautiful. How do people what's the first step to sign up for that for folks?
muscle-music.com.
That's the first step.
Yeah, that's the first step. And yeah, if people have questions, let me know.
That's really cool. I am, quite frankly, amazed,
Oh, thank you.
inspired. I've been traveling the world for 20 plus years looking for solutions to, stage fright, but also the things that come up in relationship with nervous system and all of that. So it's been a big journey for me. And I've gotten a lot of bounty from the various teachers and practices and schools that I've
Mm.
invested in. And seeing what you've put together is literally one of a kind treasure, and it makes so much sense. Everything tracks for me, and
Oh,
you're
good.
delivering it with like such grace and coherence and
Good.
practicing what you preach, because I feel the energy from which you're coming from. So just heartfelt thanks for what you're doing in this world.
Well, Mars, it sounds like you are too. I think, you're also giving, it's clear that you're doing the same work with different language and I definitely feel a kinship with you. So thanks for having this conversation. It's just fun.
My pleasure, my honor. People want more, they can go to muscle-music.com. I highly recommend they find you on Instagram as well. And your
Oh yeah.
Instagram handle is
Muscle music underscore underscore.
muscle music or
It
underscore.
was taken, so but yeah, I love my Instagram, so there's lots of free stuff on there.
It's worth typing the two underscores for.
Cool.
Thank you again. Ruby,
Yeah.
Rose Fox.
Thanks, Mars.
Until next time. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. This episode is brought to you by High Range Magic, my online program that helps horn players liberate their high range as well as reach new levels of relaxation and ease throughout the full range of the horn, and also to kind of reclaim a beautiful new paradigm of relationship and mindset with the instrument. If that sounds interesting to you, head over to highrangemagic.com and you can register to watch the free masterclass I have, How to Confidently Enjoy a 4+ Octave Range Without Pain, Overthinking, or Constantly Practicing. That's over at highrangemagic.com. Thanks again.